And welcome back to Game Escape, here today with a game room tour. I recently did an inventory of my collection, and it came out to 555 games, which kind of surprised me. That is a collecting milestone for me. So I thought I would do a video tour of the game room just for some additional documentation, so I have something more than just a spreadsheet in case of a fire or other type of emergency, and also to kind of share my take on the hobby and just the environment in which I enjoy my video games. It's a modest collection. This is not meant to brag. This certainly cannot compete with some of the other truly amazing collections that you can find on YouTube. But I really just enjoy being in the room and wanted to, share that with the audience out there. So, on the one hand, this is for me. This is, to kind of look back on what I've been able to put together in my lifetime, and certainly over the last 3 years where I've been fairly serious about collecting, but also just to come out there and contribute my take on the hobby with the YouTube gaming community. So I hope you enjoy it, and without further ado, let's go to the tour. And here is the game room, and we see straight ahead we have what I like to call my classic gaming station, where I have all of my old school consoles. You can see here on the left we have the import Sega Saturn, and on the right we have the US Sega Saturn with the action replay card. It's the card that allows you to play imports, but also gives you the 8 megabyte memory pack and allows you to save games, more games than you can on the Saturn itself. Play everything here on an old school CRT. It is a Daewoo. It was a cheap Best Buy purchase a number of years ago, just as the CRTs were fading out. It's okay. I mean, I had a Sony 27-inch, which was really, really good, but when I moved, I just couldn't fit it in the truck, so I had to dig this one out of storage, and it does a respectable job. Has some geometry issues with the screen, but overall it's absolutely fine for this setup. As you can see here underneath, we've got the GameCube, the PS2 modded to play import games. Very, very simple mod. You can look it up online if you have one of the really, really late PS2s. Very, very easy to play import games with a boot disc. The classic Sega Dreamcast, and underneath an N64 also modded, which is also very simple. Pop it open and take out a little bracket. You can play the Japanese games. As you can see here, we've got the old Sega Genesis. This was the Sega Genesis that I grew up with. Still working. It's very, very beat up. It's kind of dirty. The side panel is missing where you hook in the Sega CD. Sega CD is actually broken, but this still plays. Great system. Underneath you have the Xbox, original Xbox, and the Super Famicom, badly worn here with the sun staining, but still plays perfectly. And I used to have a Super Nintendo next to it, but that finally broke about 6 months ago. And then as you can see, I have the X-Arcade dual joystick, which I've actually seated here on 2 old speakers. And it's just a great setup. You can just sit in front of the TV, and it's just at the right height to play all of the classic fighting games. And this, one of the things about having a game room is that, it should take you back to when you were a kid. And when I was a kid, I would just sit in my bedroom, right at this distance in front of the CRT and play these great classic games. And so that's what I was trying to achieve here. It's just the right piece of furniture where you can put all of these games, fit all of these systems. And then as far as cable management, I've got the US Dreamcast, PS2, and Xbox going into the back of the TV, and everything else I just hook in here to the front composite video input. Not an elegant solution, but it works. As far as all of the controllers, they are kept under the bed here, and I like having a bed in the game room because, it just allows you to to sit back and play all of the portable titles that you have, and you can just kind of relax. And the game room should also be a place where you can relax, and I think you need a couch or a bed of some sort in order to do that most effectively. Of course, it does take up a lot of space, so perhaps eventually it has to go, but for now that's fine. And we have the gaming PC, which I built a couple of years ago. That's the one on the left. One of the LEDs on the side fans is out, but still works very nicely. Plays most modern games without problems, although I do have to update the graphics cards, and then it's the standard PC on the right. And then I have another kind of TV stand here that I'm not using at the moment, but I think when the new consoles are released, I will get a smaller LED TV, put it in here, hook up the PS3 and the 360 in here, and then keep the newer systems. I have an entertainment center in another room where I keep the newer stuff. So that is basically the physical layout of the room, hardware, and now let's take a look at the games. Alright, here is the games collection. Keep it in this closet, actually. It is a sort of a 3-section closet into which I've built some shelving. And I used to actually have a third door, which was in a way nice because I could close everything up, and when I had guests, people were sleeping over, they didn't quite know the extent to which I collect video games, which in certain cases can be useful, but nonetheless, it broke. I had to take it out. And what I've tried to do, as I said, this is a modest collection. This is not like some of the other amazing people on YouTube who've put together just incredible game rooms. But what I've tried to do is focus on content and condition. So I have 555 games, and I like to collect, Japanese style games, so JRPGs, games from Japan. I've done a video. I'm really a fan of Mahjong games, so there are a few of those in here. And then, puzzle games, platformers. You're seeing a lot of sports games here in this section because that traditionally has been the multiplayer game of choice with friends. Sports games aren't evil. I know a lot of collectors hate them, and you can't spend top dollar on them, but for $10 to $20, they're a fine addition. Now, of those 555 games, 446 are complete in box, and 296 are what I call good complete in box. So no scuff marks, no scratches to the case, no cracks, no GameStop stickers. These are basically games that I've purchased new and have used very, very delicately. I mean, I still use them, but I make sure not to have sticky fingers or go through the instruction manuals too much. We can get everything online. And I do have what I would say, I have 34 new in-box games, shrink-wrapped, sealed games, which, that's not really intentional. I just haven't gotten to them. You can see here I have some LED lighting in the closet, make it a little bit easier to find everything, because lighting is a problem. And I also have 19 boxed games. For example, you'll see some up here like the Street Fighter 2, Turbo, Pilot Wings, Legend of Zelda. These are, I'm not going to call these complete in box because, they have box, game, and manual, but I'm not sure if all of the inserts are there, like the Nintendo Power subscription cards or warranty cards. So I've got about 19 of those. Let's take a look here at the top shelf. I've just displayed basically some just random stuff. These are boxes for some of the better games that I have that I just couldn't fit anywhere else and didn't want to ruin, so I display them up there. Obviously, Legend of Zelda Ocarina of Time. That is one of those games that, it's boxed. It has the little white insert to hold the cartridge. It has the manual, and it has some of the inserts. I'm not sure if it has all of them. Of course, the game is in good working order. So, to me, I wouldn't call that complete in box in an auction. I would just sort of photograph everything and say, it's as complete as I can get it. Again, it may be missing a warranty card or something like that. That is the Super Street Fighter Street Fighter 15th Anniversary Edition controller for the PS2, and I just got it because Ken's one of my favorite video game characters, and I just like the box art. Those are the two Nintendo Club Nintendo rewards. That is, those are the Hanafuda cards. Actually pretty nice. Not bad gifts. The first shelf we have here has all of my PS3 games, about 65 PS3 games in total. None that are super, super rare. I do have some Japanese stuff. That Japanese game here on the left is a Mahjong game, which I talked about in my video on video game Mahjong. The Initial D game, if you're familiar with that manga. Very, very difficult to play. And you can see just a variety of sports games. Zoom in here. As far as this game tends to be pretty valuable. This is the Ashita no Joe Pachinko game. And this has been listed for anywhere between $70 and $150 on eBay. You can look at my video game Pachinko video, and I have some gameplay of that. So that's PS3. Below that we have shelf 1 of my PS2 collection. And Dragon Quest, complete in box, new, unopened. I actually have a loose disc that I play when I want to play the Dragon Quest 8. And as you can see here, some Japanese wrestling games. I talked about this Mahjong game in that 3-part look at Japanese Mahjong video games, and that is actually a pretty rare game. You can see the GameStop stickers. Again, I don't consider these in my complete in box just because I think the stickers detract from the value. And now we have the first part of my import Saturn collection. I really think that import Sega Saturn games are really the way to go if you're starting off a collection. I've said this before because you can get them at so many different price points. And for instance, this whole, well, not this whole row, from Police Nauts to the first PlayStation 1 game, Dragon Quest, or Dragon Warrior 7, that really wasn't a ton of money. That might represent, I don't know, $50 or $60, and all of these games are interesting, and I've documented a few of them in a number of my videos, but I'm really happy to have, if you can see here, the Police Nauts game with the art book and Snatcher right next to it, and then both Sakura Wars games, which are actually playable. If you're familiar with playing import Japanese games, you have a little, and I mean very, very little, Japanese language ability, you can actually play these games. You may not understand what all the dating scenarios are, but as far as the strategy RPG elements, completely playable. And then moving down, we have my other PS2 shelf. More of the RPGs here. I'm trying to collect a number of the Shin Megami Tensei games that have been released here in North America. Got the Kingdom Hearts, Yakuza, the third Sakura, I guess that's the fourth Sakura Wars game. Have not opened that one up yet. Yeah, just a lot of people, I think when you collect games, they ask you, well, how much money have you spent on these games? And, my answer is, you never want to pay MSRP for video games unless you really, really want to play it. So I look at it this way, if you think of a parabola or like a J shape with the point on the left being MSRP, the highest point the game will be, highest price the game will be after it is released, and the vertex, kind of like the lowest point, being the, what Amazon say will sell it for when they're just trying to blow it out the door when it's not popular anymore, but it's still in the retail marketplace. That's the point at which you want to buy these games. And if they're collectible, it'll take that parabolic shape where then the price will go from that lowest retail price point that you'll find on Amazon or buy.com and will sort of creep upward and hopefully equal or exceed MSRP. But that is, very few games actually do that. But I think, Amazon is really the place, or Newegg, or any of these online stores, that's really the place to buy your games, because you can still get, new games, good condition, $20 or less in some cases, and build your collection that way. As you can see here, and that's how I got a lot of these Xbox 360 games. Here are the cave shooters. These obviously are imports. Probably those are the most expensive games that I have, or most expensive prices that I've paid. With Espgaluda 2, so you've got Dodonpachi, Espgaluda 2, and Mushihime-sama Futari. Those all have to be imported, although Dodonpachi is not bad. You can get that I got it from Amazon, Germany. And there's some original Xbox games. I wasn't a big Xbox collector, but I'm starting to think, with 555 games, how do I where do I go now? And I'm looking at Xbox, original Xbox, and that's also some original Xbox games here. And perhaps Dreamcast and Genesis is maybe the way to expand the collection up to, the next benchmark, 750 or, 1,000. So let me know. Let me know what you think exactly. What is a place for good value to straighten these out, to expand the collection. And of course down here we've got the GameCube titles. I don't have a ton of GameCube games. I kind of got into that late, but try to pick up all of the interesting ones. Really loved F-Zero, actually, for the GameCube. And then Super Famicom, N64 games, and behind the N64 games you have the Super Nintendo games. So let's have a look at the left-hand section. Just some boxes up there. Hard drives. This is where I have the rest of the Sega Saturn collection, Sega Dreamcast, and some Super CD-ROM games for the PC Engine. Basically the Far East of Eden series, which I got into on the recommendation of the Happy Console Gamer. Really, really good game, especially the third one. Down here we've got the Wii and the Wii U games. I hope to be adding some Wii U games, but probably the best part here is that I have the Xenoblade Last Story and Pandora's Tower. Last Story and Pandora's Tower actually sealed, just because I haven't gotten around to playing with them. Super Mario Galaxy, my favorite Wii game. And then here's some spare boxes, Super Famicom boxes and 64 boxes, and then down here we've got Mario All-Stars and Punch-Out. Those are, I believe, complete in box, but again, I won't commit to that because I haven't been able to determine if I have all of the inserts. Super Punch-Out, of course, a great, great game. Then down here we've got some loose games, working Game Gear. Have that from when I was a kid, and the Virtual Boy, again, working. I don't have the battery pack, but I can play it plugged into the wall. Gives me quite a headache these days. And yeah, so these are some Virtual Boy games. These are all, again, in that category. They have the manuals. I have the games. In the case of Wario Land, I don't have the little white insert, but as close to complete as I'll get on that. And like everyone else, I had a large Game Boy collection and only kept 2, and that would be these 2 games, which are, I believe, complete in box. And down here, I've got my retro game magazine collection. I started with Nintendo Power, and those are all the Retro Gamers, which is a great magazine to subscribe to. And a lot of EGMs. These are all original that I got as a kid, and I'll probably do a video on this collection in a bit. There's one Famitsu there, I think, on top. Yeah, the Game Boy thing is a shame, and I have some loose games in the back. Basically, when I was a kid, we had a rule that stated if you purchase a video game system, a new video game system, you had to sell or give away the old one. And so that was the fate of my Nintendo collection and my TurboGrafx-16 collection, which was all complete in box, if I remember correctly. Had to give them away to get the Sega Genesis collection, which I have down here. And as you can see, not a great value, not a great deal, because complete in box Genesis games are nowhere near complete in box Nintendo classics and TurboGrafx-16 games. So I'm still a little bit bitter about that. And that's why I've really focused on, you know, PlayStation 1 era forward. I can't throw good money after bad. I don't want to rebuy all of the games that I gave away or sold. But yeah, when you're a kid, you sometimes just don't have control over anything like that. 3DS and DS collection, which some DS games down here, all the Dragon Quest games. 3DS stuff I'm really excited about. I've mentioned that numerous times on the channel. Great system. Perhaps my favorite system of the new ones that I'm playing right now. Small Vita collection. What is there really to buy for the Vita? Some US Sega Saturn games and some Sega CD games. And then we have here PlayStation titles. A lot of these are unopened just because I have not had a chance to play them, but they represent that strategy that I have with price. You know, these at some point, you know, these were all under $20 on Amazon, whether it was a daily deal or, you know, Black Friday, stuff like that. So you just pick them up, and these are all games that I hope to play. Particularly Persona 1 and 2, which I haven't really got into. And Trails in the Sky. So I've got the regular edition in the box, the limited edition. Arcade controllers, which I have discussed in my review. Reviewed all three, the Hori Real Arcade Pro, Dream Arcade Stream Stick, and then the X-Arcade dual joystick. And then here we've got the Genesis games. These are kind of these are the originals from when I was a kid, except for Columns and Sword of Vermilion, which I picked up for about $2 a piece recently. And then coming down here we have my art book collection, which is growing. I actually started collecting art books after seeing Happy Console Gamer's video on it, and it was just so much fun. You know, I didn't even realize a lot of these things were out there. And probably my favorites are actually the SNK characters. Great art books, just terrific artwork, and I'll probably do a video on this at some point. There's the Akira Toriyama Dragon Quest Monsters art book, and some other odds and ends. I actually show you the top shelf here. Actually just keep some spare boxes, like that's the outer box to the Akira Toriyama art book, and some Super Game Boy box. And all of my other boxes I basically keep in storage. I've got the, you know, I think basically every system box going back to the N64. And that is it. That is the game room. I'm happy that you joined us today here on Game Escape, and you know, it is just so cool that we've come to, I think, a point in video games where we can have this nostalgia. And I really think the essence of a game room is that it's really a place where you can locate your hobby and your collecting passion and just escape into it. And you know, it's really not about the size of the room or the number of games you have, but it's about having the time and space to yourself so that, you know, you can just kind of shut out the outside world and focus on on these great experiences that video games offer you. And each time you add something to that, you could have 10 games, you could have 1,000 games, but I really think each time you add a game to your collection, you just deepen that experience. So thank you for watching Game Escape. I hope to review a lot more of the games here on these shelves, and we will see you very shortly.